Well, good morning everyone, welcome back. It's Easter Monday here in Australia, so I just hope that everyone's had a great Easter. It's still public holiday here in Australia, so making the most of it, getting this video quickly sorted out and then probably heading off to the beach for the day. Anyway, what's this video about? We're looking a little bit further at the Google Assistant SDK. I want to expand it to actually start controlling some devices. And look, I just took the easy way out and had a look around on YouTube and found another contributor called Sid's eClassroom, and he'd done an awful lot of work with the SDK and has a GitHub project, so I downloaded it and installed it. And this video will be the first in a series of probably 3 where we look at software, hardware, and then getting it all going together. Now, Sid's eClassroom have done a lot of work and have YouTube streaming, Google Music integration, radio streaming, all sorts of things, as well as hardware integration. And it works quite well, straight out of the box, easy to install and everything like that. The code is not exactly how I'd like it. It's not very modular. There's 2 main scripts and there's configuration and code in both of them, and just not how I quite like it. So I've actually taken a look at the 2 main scripts and modified them and made it a lot more modular so it's easier to follow and easier to maintain. And that's the code I'll be using going forward. I will cover off on it in a short video in the next day or 2. And then publish it so that you can download it and just slot it in. Okay, so let's get into it now. Okay, so I've already made a few videos on getting a Raspberry Pi set up, but grab an SD card, format it, and copy the Noobs or Raspbian installer onto the actual card. Now this takes a little while to do. I've sped this up so it's much faster than what it really takes. But once you've got that loaded, eject the card. Shove it in the Raspberry Pi and boot it up, select it and install. I also set up VNC so I can use the desktop on it from my PC. So just start up VNC or just use it plugged into a HDMI monitor. Okay, so the install instructions are really well documented on the GitHub site. So I'm just going to sort of rush through this, but there are a couple of little things that I had issues with, which I've covered off on the video, but let's just get started with it. So first things first, might just take a look at the audio setup, just add the controls to it. I'm just going to use a USB microphone and the onboard audio jack this time. So just adding the controls and turning the volume up to max. So that looks all good to go. And select the analog audio. Okay, next thing we want to do is actually do an update on the operating system and all the packages that come in the initial install. So we just want to do an update to start off with, and then following that we do an upgrade, and again this takes quite some time as well. I've sped it up and chopped a bit out of the center of it just to make the video a little bit shorter. Okay, so after that's done, what we want to do is just check if Git is installed, which it is, and then we want to actually clone Sid eClassroom's GitHub project, as that's the one we'll be working off. Okay, so once that's installed, what we want to do is set up some audio settings, and there's some scripts to do that. We just have to change the execution rights on it first up. Now the script will be dependent on the actual audio that you're using, so after you've set the execution rights, then you can just execute it, and that will create some files with the audio configuration suitable for what you're using. As I'm using the analog audio, I need to go in and actually force it to use that 3.5 jack. Okay, do a shutdown and a reboot. Once it comes up, we'll just test the audio to make sure it's right, and it was fine, I could hear that. Now we're going to change the execution rights of the actual install script that TybZuK Classroom created, and then just execute it. Now this loads all of the environment, the SDK, and absolutely everything that's required. First of all, we need to set up a project though, because we need some credentials for that script, and we're just creating a project, enabling the SDK for that particular project. And registering a device model. Never quite know what to select here. It doesn't seem to matter. In the next step, don't bother downloading the credentials though. If you now go into the API, you'll see that there is a JSON file there that we can download. So just grab that and move it into the home Pi directory and grab the name. Now go back to your terminal window where you'd started running that script and paste in that file name for the credentials file. We need the project ID, and we also need the device model. Paste that in, and then just let the script run and it will do its magic. And it will provide you with a URL that you just copy and paste into a browser. You'll need to approve access and grab the code, which you then paste back into the terminal window. And if all things are good, then it will update the credentials on your Raspberry Pi and launch straight into Google Assistant, which it did, and it worked quite okay. So the next thing we want to do is set it to automatically run on startup, and to do that we need to install a service. And first things first, we need to change the execution rights of the service installer script. And once we've done that, we just execute that script to install the service. We enable the service and we start the service. One other thing we need to do, the service configuration, we need to actually put the device model ID in the file, and that actually gets saved in a file in the home Pi directory. So you can just grab that value, paste it into the server setup, and then do another reboot. And if things go well, it should start up. The main scripts for operation are in this folder, the main and the actions files, which we'll cover off in the next video. Okay, well there you go. And as I say, this code works quite well straight out of the box. There were probably a couple of little things that were a bit odd, which is what prompted the rewrite of the code, just to make it a little bit more manageable. But please download it, give it a try. And as I say, I'll get the next video out in the next couple of days that talks about the changes I've made to the code to make it a bit more modular. So that's it for now. I'll see you next time. If you like what I'm doing, then please do like the video. If you'd like to see more, then please subscribe, and don't forget to hit the chime so you get notified when I post something new. And I'll put a couple of links here to some other videos you can look at.